I've spent thousands and thousands of hours building with Claude Code in the last 2 years. And during the time, I built things like YouTube faceless accounts that run by themselves, plus a Telegram bot that makes those videos, checks them with me, and posts them by itself. I built internal tools like this one that watches the creators we like and tracks whatever is blowing up across places like Reddit, X, Facebook, TikTok, and the news, so we never run out of ideas for our socials. Also, I built an app that makes AI videos like these ones you can see here. And at my 6-figure marketing agency, it handles all the client work like these email campaigns, meta ads, website work, brand books, and even edits the videos. It can also plug into every client's SEO, meta ads, and Google ad accounts and manage them better than most people would be capable of. And this one's funny. Last month, I built an agent that finds the winning e-commerce products, then finds the factories in China that makes them, negotiates the deal with suppliers in Chinese, and then goes and builds the Shopify website and runs the ads by itself. And believe it or not, it's still only a small part of everything I was able to build, but now let's get to the topic. So at this point, I think I know Claude better than I know most of my friends, and I did all this deliberately without watching a single video or reading any resource on Claude. Now, I'm not saying that you should completely raw dog it like I did, but what I want to say is that there's so much content about Claude Code and most of it is completely irrelevant. This video alone will take you from beginner onto a path to become so familiar with it that you won't be able to shut up about it or stop messing around with it. So here's exactly what you're gonna learn. First, I'm gonna show you my exact setup and how I run every operation you just saw, making my Claude Code as sharp as it can possibly get. Then I'll tell you why you can stop forever for hunting skills and prompts, because Claude Code is completely capable of writing its own based on what you need and times better than anything you'd copy off the internet. Then I'll tell you why almost all Claude Code advice online is a noise and how Claude builds its own tools and trains itself. And finally, how to truly master Claude Code for good, because it all comes down to one thing: learning how to think with it and work with it. Nail that and you will never need an outside source again, and you will be onto the best path there is. So this will not only be 100% the most important video you will see on Claude Code, but might be the last one you will need to watch. Make sure to save it for later in case you won't have enough time now, or if you will want to get back to it. This one will survive all the model updates, and it will make you actually understand how to make Claude develop itself and make your work and your life better and easier. Okay guys, so to start things off, I need you to understand the most important thing is what kind of beast Claude Code is when you're using it locally on your computer, so basically the strongest version of it. And the best way to look at it is if you think about it as this powerful kid that has a lot of power, but it doesn't necessarily know about all the powers it has, okay? It consists of two biggest things, which are the system prompt and then the files that you have on your computer and the ones that you're targeting when you're working with it. So the system prompt is something we cannot really control. The system prompt is set up by Anthropic, the creators of Claude. So it's a very extensive prompt that basically tells Claude Code what its general purpose is, the mission, I mean, why we are using it and what its goal is. And the rest is all files. So now I'll show you a couple of examples. So the first one is this is a Claude Code when you open it from scratch, when you didn't do any work with it yet. And you can see that there are 0 files in the Explorer here. And also, if you don't know how to set it up like this, I'm leaving the video here, which is a very short setup, so you can get it running like I am here. And then I can show you one of the directories that have a lot in here. So this Claude Code consists of the system prompt that we can control and then all these files. Long story short, everything I'm gonna talk about, every little or big thing that you hear about Claude Code or that you learn about Claude Code, everything comes down to files, filing, the structures of it and everything like that. But don't get scared. I will tell you a bit about it piece by piece, so it will start making sense. For now, I can give you an example. Imagine a kid that is, I don't know, 3-4 years old. He's trying to open the door, but all he tries to do is just push it because maybe he doesn't know how the door handles work yet, right? And then he just experiments, and then he tries to actually pull the door handle, and now the door is open. And from there, he will basically learn the lesson and he will know how to open door from there. I'll give you another example now. Imagine that you want to make a YouTube channel. You want to start it completely from scratch. You're not very experienced. You always had a passion for it. And maybe the topic you want to talk about is finance. because maybe you studied finance, or you're just very finance savvy. Maybe you invest and you just like to talk about, like to yap about it with your friends or people you don't know. Maybe you're gonna make the biggest mistake and start yapping that on camera. What you might want to do, one of the things, is research before you actually start producing a video, right? So maybe you would go to YouTube and you put something like investing for beginners or how to invest, like a very popular search term that gets a lot of traction. And you might want to analyze the top performing videos, what kind of thumbnails they have, how long the videos are, maybe find some patterns. Maybe there's a certain structure that's usually being followed. There's a lot of things that you can research and find about it, right? So couple of ways to do it. The first one is we can go ahead and watch it ourselves and try to spot anything, or we can give it to Claude Code, right? So when you open the completely new Claude Code session that doesn't have any files on it, and you will ask it to go ahead and watch those videos, Claude Code doesn't work like humans. When you try to ask it to go to YouTube and watch those videos, it will have a different ways how to do it. So the first one might be to actually use the technology called web fetch. And what web fetch is a AI browsing tool that lets large language models like Claude to go to the website and directly read and extract information. It doesn't see it visually like we do, but it knows where the texts are, the buttons. It reads the code. And then if the Claude Code session is completely new and it doesn't have any skills yet, it might come back to you and tell you that it cannot go past the cookie screen. And I'm talking from experience that's exactly what happened when we tried. What you might want to do is you might want to tell it that maybe try again and maybe think of any other ways that we can get those videos and get transcripts for them. And then it can go ahead and invest a bit more time, invest a bit more tokens, and do a bit more research and find this technology called YT-DLP, which is a popular free command line tool that lets you download video and audio from thousands of websites, including YouTube, TikTok, and social media platforms. So this, for example, this tool is not made for AI. It's made by humans. It's a technology that people used, and I can show you exactly how that works. So if we go here, it's basically the whole script that Claude executes. And I can show you how that works. So for example, if I take this one, I'll tell you what it is in a second. So this script will take this YouTube video link and will target that Python script that I just showed you. And it has to take the transcript and put it into this folder right here. So I'll go to terminal and I'll put this here. That's it. It literally took a couple of seconds. And now I have the whole transcript. So for you to understand it, Claude has the access to the whole internet. It has the access to all the possible tools and libraries that humans already built. It can build its own libraries and tools, but it doesn't know everything yet, and it doesn't know how important the task is. So because for Claude, when you ask it to go to YouTube and find those videos and get the transcripts, this question is of the same importance as you would ask, why is my orange green, for example. You just asked it once, and if it doesn't know the answer straight away, or it cannot, like the agent cannot go past something, it's not gonna start trying everything it can, because that would be a huge waste of tokens for something that's maybe not so important. But then when you show and kind of tell it the importance of the task, and you ask it to try again or try to find some workarounds, it will do it. And that's exactly how the skills, the Claude Code skills, so popular, are made. That's exactly why I said in the beginning that Claude skills is basically a scam. Okay, so now as we learn how to get the transcripts from the videos, I want to show you something else. I want to show you this Instagram reel. Let's just look at it for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna explain you why I'm showing you this.
Finally, someone created a repo that gives your AI agent eyes. Your AI can't actually watch videos. It just guesses through transcription, but this unlocks that. It can now watch videos frame by frame. Other people and other creators are using this to actually reverse engineer as people's hooks and videos. All you got to do is download the repo, run one command, and just drop down the URL for it.
What this guy basically says is that AI can get transcripts from the videos, but it cannot watch them. The difference between AI that can watch a video and AI that cannot watch the video is just ask. If I get a transcript from these videos, for example, and now I kind of get the idea, like my Claude Code analyzes those videos based on the transcripts, it can tell me the outlines of those videos and can tell me what kind of terminology is being used, etc. But maybe now I want to know how many different scenes are being used. Do they use any B-rolls? Do they only talk to the camera and use A-roll? There's so many things, right? All it takes is for me to ask Claude Code to do it, and you just have to know the kind of things that you can ask, and you don't need to know it. You basically, what you would do yourself, you ask Claude to do it. That's it. And if Claude Code thinks that it's going to be a repetitive thing from now on, or maybe you're going to ask it like a couple of times, it's going to make a skill out of it. So it knows exactly how to do that task later and how to execute it. For example, what is a video? Video is just a lot of different frames that go one by one. It's a picture after picture after picture after picture. That's exactly how Claude watches the videos. It cuts the video to different frames and then looks at the pictures. Sometimes it can miss a small cut or a small detail. You can take a 1 minute video and you can take 60 frames of that video. So that would basically be 1 second per frame. But then if it misses some details, I just ask it to watch more closely, and what that means, now it's gonna make up 500 frames out of that 1 minute video, and now it's gonna look at all these 500 images, and it does it super fast. And that's the whole thing. That's why I think hunting for skills and looking for skills and all these influencers talking about these magic skills and magic repos that you just need to download and stuff is complete it's not a scam, but it's complete noise, and it's completely irrelevant. And that's exactly what I want to show you now, is this whole method. You start by just working. You don't plan any systems. You don't hunt for some magic skills. You just use the tool that is Claude Code, and you just try to do whatever task you want to do. When it gets something wrong, or you learn something the hard way, you name the thing. So basically, if it tells you that it cannot go to YouTube and watch the video, you ask it to try again, and then when it does it again, you can tell it, look, seems that you can do it, so, and we're gonna need to do it often. And that's it. Now it understands how that's important, and that's exactly how you capture it. So this is the move that almost everyone skips, but it's the only one that matters. Because when you capture that thing, it's exactly how you turn it into a skill, into a repetitive thing that Claude knows exactly how to execute, right? Okay, and now let's get to my whole setup that absolutely kills. This is how I named it because I truly believe it. I'm very proud of it. It's basically the fruits of everything I worked with Claude in the last, I don't know how much time. We will quickly go through it. I've tried, and I will try to make it sound as simple as possible, but keep in mind that you don't need to understand every little thing. It really depends on how proficient you are right now with Claude Code. And so it consists of 2 main parts. One is the logic of my communication and execution, and another part is my folder structure. Let's talk about exactly this now. Let me draw the pointer. So session start hook right here and session end hook right here is pretty much almost the same thing. So when you open Claude Code from scratch and it doesn't have any knowledge yet, you will face the problem that when you work on some tasks and then maybe 4 days, 5 days later, you want Claude to remember the task you were working on because you want to continue working on it maybe, or you want anything you've learned from there to kind of pass the knowledge on to the next thing you're working on. That happens absolutely every time. But you will have to re-explain yourself. You will have to go through mountains and seas to make it remember anything. With my system right here, it never forgets anything. As I said before, everything is files, and this entire workflow exists to answer one problem: how to get the right files in front of the right session automatically so you never retype context. And one thing I have to mention as well, people get kind of scared of all these systems, and that's why most of the people, they don't even get themselves deep enough with Claude Code because they think that they have to design or structure these kind of insane folder structures and systems. But I want to get back to this thing, this whole method. That's exactly how my system was born. I just worked, I corrected, I captured it. And what session start and session end hook does is that every time that I finish the session and when I close it, there's a session end hook that gets executed, and it stores everything, the most important things that happened, all the knowledge that it needs to maintain, and it self-updates the files. And then what session start hook does is every time I open the session, it opens the same file that session end hook developed. So And that's how Claude knows that it has to remain the knowledge, okay? So when you start working with it, Claude really doesn't understand that it's so important for you to keep working on the same things, or it's important for Claude to remember this and that. That's why I'm telling you that it's like a kid that doesn't have this power, that doesn't know that it has these powers. Then I have this curated memory that sticks across every session. This sounds maybe a bit similar to things right here, but for me, when I run multiple things, for me the most important thing also is for the directories and for the folders to kind of speak to themselves. You can kind of imagine it as a company. For example, you have a big company, you have a company like Google, okay? You have different departments. You have marketing department, you have product department, and imagine that those departments are completely disconnected, and a marketing department that does marketing but knows absolutely nothing what product department does. I mean, that would create kind of a problem. You want them to kind of mingle a bit, you want them to maybe talk in lunch or have some shared meetings, so everyone kind of feels the pulse, and the marketing knows where the product is going. People know what the marketing plan is. It just helps to kind of develop each other, right? And then the last one is cross-directory communication that connects the folders with a shared context in the file, and that's exactly what I just talked about. So my main goal when I started working with Claude was to make it as efficient and as proactive and as smart, maintaining the information, realizing and understanding what's important to maintain and how to maintain it. And all this happened, again, simply while working with it. One of the things, for example, the third step, that is capture, when I realized that I have to update that file, like that knowledge file, so Claude understands what we're working on and it understands what is important for me, I just told it that I don't want to write anything to that file. I want you to write to that file, and I want you to self-update it. And that's exactly how I closed this loop. I made Claude kind of understand me, and whenever there's something that it needs to capture, it just does it by itself. That's how you develop Claude, and that's how Claude gets very smart, and it knows exactly what kind of skills and what kind of structures and what kind of tricks it needs to learn to make your life easier and your work better. The second part is the folder structure. So it's pretty simple, but it has something I believe very smart. So I have three main parent folders: Hub, Active, and Archive. So I'll start with the Archive. In Archive, I put all the projects that are currently paused, or maybe there's something I kind of work on, but it's not very important, so I just don't want to throw it to the same knowledge. I don't want Claude to kind of get confused by it, because the more context you have, the more files and stuff you have, the kind of harder it is to maintain it in an effective way. Anything I kind of am working on but not really, or something that I put permanent pause, or maybe I don't want to delete it yet. Then the folder Active kind of speaks for itself. Everything I'm currently actively working on. And then the last one is Hub. The thing with Hub is, it's exactly why I put this doodle right here. Because I run multiple things at once, I realized that now, for example, if I want to know what's up with my agency clients, what the numbers are, what is the status, or what is the status of my app, I want Claude to kind of update me about maybe made an application for Apple developer program, or maybe look at our churn, look at our MRR, look at how our videos are performing. There's so many things that I constantly need to look at and analyze. I realized that I need this after I took a couple of days off. I took myself for a vacation. When I disconnected myself for a bit, I realized I really want something to just report to me, like just on everything, you know, like I just want to know the big picture of what's happening. I don't want to open like many different sessions and start nitpicking on every little thing. And that's why I created a completely separate folder that is not involved actively in any projects, with only one goal, is to observe. So it does two things for me. It's really like my CEO, like my right hand. It looks at everything I'm doing. All other directories, whether it's app or marketing, any clients, it reports to this one. So it gets constantly updated with everything that's going on, and it can help me prioritize. It can help me, for example, I can really tell it, okay, I want to reach 300K a month by the end of next year. And it can really just look at everything from the big picture. It can really connect all my business units and see what's up. It can also tell me if I want to just get numbers on everything. I just kind of want to make some decisions, and I need someone to play on some ideas back and forth. And it's been an insane help to have this, really. It's been an insane help. I use it every day, and I'm trying to maintain it in a way where I don't get it involved in any projects. But it's really just like this CEO that's here to observe, And also when I'm talking about all this, because this hub is really not trashed with a lot of context and a lot of things, I can really just ask it to go through every sessions I do, every conversations I had, every project I'm working on, and I can ask it to find any things in our structure, in our folder structure, in the way, maybe find some things that I get confused of, or maybe some things that are bothering me, and it can really just help me to even develop this structure further. And it's actually responsible for parts of this one. Of course, my whole logic and everything, how my Claude works, is more complicated than this. I just tried to kind of put it like the most important things here. And also to kind of understand about how the whole folder structure and file structure works, I can give you a small example as well. So for example, imagine you have a marketing agency like I do, and you want to make a brand book for client number 2, okay? So we have this folder right here, which is agency. And inside agency, you have a folder client 1, and inside the client 1, you have this brandinfo.md file. .md file, keep in mind, is it's basically like a text file, okay? It doesn't mean anything crazy. This brand info file stores all the brand info for client 1. That's why it's sitting in the client 1 folder. And we have the same file name, but in client 2 folder. But now because it's in client 2, Claude will know if it needs client 2 brand info, it will go to client 2 folder first. And then finally, we have a make-brandbooks.md file, which is a skill file, okay? So there's nothing in particular that can tell you that it's a skill, but just the Claude knows it's a skill, okay? Because it puts it where it needs to put it to know that it's a skill. If you want to make a brand book for client 2, what Claude will do, if you are running currently at this parent agency folder, it will go to client 2 folder, it will get this file brand info, it will look at it, and then it will go ahead and execute this make-brandbooks.md file. And why make-brandbooks.md file is in separate folder and why it doesn't live in client 2 and client 1 is because we will have to make brand books from time to time for different clients. The process of it will more or less will be the same. We will just need different information about the clients, their colors, their tone, their website, whatever it is. And all this information will be stored in the clients folder because this information will always be important separately for the specific client. I know this might be kind of hard to understand, but you just need to work with Claude and that's it. You will get it after some time. One last example before I let you go. It pretty much explains the same thing, just maybe in a bit more technical way. Same thing. You want to run meta ads for your agency client, okay? There's basically 4 main parts. There's a context MD file that never changes. For example, that this brand is selling skincare products in Australian market focusing on acne. So this context MD file would be living in that brand folder. And this is, if you're onboarding a client, this context MD file would be one of the first ones to appear. It would be something that like Claude knows it's not gonna change, okay, probably like not soon. And then we have from most permanent to most temporary files. So the second one is lessons. So these ones have a long shelf life, but they're not so permanent. So for example, this client's audience loves rough UGC style ads, polished ones flop for them. So this is something we learn with the process, and Claude knows that it kind of needs to know this, but it doesn't hard code it into context. It doesn't set this like a permanent rule, okay? That's exactly how Claude works. The last one is a state. So it's a very short shelf life. So for example, this month we're running a summer scale with a budget of 2,000 euros per month, and best angle that's working for us right now is before and after. When you want to create the ads, all these things are passed onto the skill MD file that knows how to run the ads. For me, it probably would be much harder to understand when I would have someone explain it to me like this. But the biggest takeaway that I want you to take from this thing right here, that you don't need to make any systems, you don't need to fish for any skills, you don't need to do anything, just open Claude Code and start working with it. Make yourself a goal, think of some things that you might want Claude to do and do it. That's it. If you want to look for the skills, there are a couple of places like skills.sh or github.com/topic/Claude-skills. And here you can find a lot of skills that people are obsessed with. And it's kind of okay if you just want to maybe get some inspiration of what Claude is capable of. For example, maybe you don't know that Claude can look at some videos, and because you don't know it, it would never maybe pop in your head that you might want to ask for this. My advice is don't download any skills. You don't need to do it. Just ask Claude to do things for you. And if it cannot, just ask to do it again and again and again and again. What helps for me always is to ask for workarounds. Like tell me 10 different ways how we could still approach it, okay? Just motivate it. Don't let it give up. And that's pretty much it. And if you want to learn more about what kind of workflows I have, or what kind of things or businesses we execute or experiment, I'm leaving my community down below in the description. Also, maybe we will put some b-rolls over here about what kind of sections and what kind of things we do there. But yeah, I really advise you to join it. It's a really good value for your money. It's definitely a skill worth to learn. That's pretty much it. I really hope it's not been too difficult, and I really hope you're gonna be taking away something from this. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I promise I'm gonna answer to each one of them, because I'm really curious if there's something that's really comes in your head when I'm explaining all this, because for me it's kind of obvious. So see you in the next one.